Adaptations can be a tricky thing to get right. Sometimes too much is changed from the source material, or it's not adapted in a way that creates an enjoyable viewing experience. Is Dogman a film adaptation that respects its source? More importantly, is it a movie that everyone can enjoy? Let's talk about it. Alright, so Dogman. It's a very simple story. We got Greg the dog and Officer Knight. They're a canine cop duo. Greg the dog is the smart one, and Officer Knight, he's like, the body, the able one, but he's not very smart. And they have an arch nemesis, Petey the cat, and Petey and all of his other arch nemesis, they've been fighting, but Petey the cat blows up a bomb and it destroys Greg the dog's body, and it destroys Officer Knight's head. So the doctors decide to sew the dog's head onto the man's body, creating Dogman. Very simple, I know. It's a kid's movie. You gotta just kind of go with it. But it's great. It's a wonderful story. I know absolutely nothing about Dogman. I grew up when Captain Underpants was coming out, and I remember reading those. But this movie is fantastic. I love it just as much as Captain Underpants. It might be better, to be honest. At least the movie is. I think this movie was way better than Captain Underpants. This movie has a lot of love and passion behind it, and you can see that from the cartoony text boxes that pop up when characters speak, to the way the characters look and are animated. Everything about this movie is fantastic. Sometimes the 2D, 3D blend animation can be kind of choppy and look a little jarring, but here it looks very, very well done. I've seen comments where people mention how this is supposed to be inspired by stop motion animation, or it was intended to be that, but they switched to CGI. And I think it works perfectly fine in its favor, and you can see the love for stop motion here. The plot is very simple. Dogman is just trying to stop Petey the cat and fight crime around the city. And from what I've heard online, what I've seen, it seems like this story is faithfully adapting, I believe, the first book. And people have said that it's done a great job adapting it, and I'll take their word for it, because the story was really tightly knit, well written, and very well acted. All the voice cast was very amazing, especially Dogman. Dogman had no voice acting, just some awoos, some barks, some grunts, and just acting like a dog. But everyone else had voice acting. Little Petey was an amazing addition. I loved Little Petey. He was great. Him in the story between Petey was amazing. The story had a very, very, very good messaging. I found about how generational trauma can be passed on, and how even an unwilling parent, someone who didn't want kids, can kind of become a parental figure, and what kind of stuff they want to pass on to their kids, kind of messages and life lessons do they want to leave to theirs. And I think that's a great message, because it can be enjoyed by both children and adults. And there's a lot of jokes in this movie that are supposed to be enjoyed by adults. Not to say that it's inappropriate, it's not a innuendo kind of joke, but it's just a more clever joke that, so only someone who's had a little bit more life experience will understand. Or it's like, oh, okay, I understand the play on words here. And they're all very clever and fun. This movie has a very slapstick kind of humor to it, so if you're a big fan of Looney Tunes or more old style kind of slapstick stuff, you're gonna love this movie. The jokes are very funny, they're very animated, and the character designs are very, very nice to look at too. I think a lot of the animal characters are very silly. Petey the cat is great, Little Petey, Dogman, of course. And a lot of the visual humor in this movie is just fantastic. If you're just looking in the background, you'll just see some really silly stuff. It just rewards you for paying attention. So yeah, if you do see this movie in theaters with your kids, you're not gonna regret buying the tickets, because you're gonna have a good time seeing the movie. just as much as the little ones. I think Dogman deserves a wonderful rating of an 8.5 out of 10. This movie was not a rough watch. I'm sorry. And that's all I have for you, ladies and gentlemen. And with that, take care, and I'll see you next time.